one victory on Storm Point, but it was that one victory they were just able to achieve. Can they replicate it here again? It's match number 8 here in Resorts World Birmingham for the ALGS Championships. And we have 7 teams with the chance to win things right here, right now.
The mood has kind of changed in the room, I'm feeling. It was just excitement, energy, the moment that we saw the crowd walk in, but now there's a little bit of nerves, a little bit of trepidation, as everybody is hoping it's their team who can get that win on the board. Teams finding their way down onto Storm Point off the rip. We're going to start with Dreamfire.
Dreamfire playing this far safer as well, away from the mill, yet again not wanting to take that fight with the Pioneers, and the loophole is not going to be great here for them. They are probably going to be walking out with just the white. They'll be lucky to find a blue, and that'll be bad news for their chances. But if the zone were to pull their way, then there's still that opportunity. And speaking of said zone, we're going to be heading a little bit further
Blackhand
north.
just stole the trident.
East. It's daylight robbery from Blackhand, and it's something we saw similar from NRG earlier on this tournament. Sometimes it's about denying that possibility of quick rotations.
I mean, Effect will be, I would say upset, probably some choice words being said in this microphone right now, but it's not going to affect Alliance too much because the map overhead is going to tell us that we're going pretty central at the moment. Between Thunderwatch, Stormcatcher, and Command Center is where we will see our end zone. Elsewhere, you can see the KCP seem to be alone at the moment over at the mill, so looks like their day of contesting might be over, Dan.
And I'm just looking at who's got those ring consoles to get the information. TSM do not have one at the wall. Dojo do have one at Northpad to work with, as do Optic Gaming over at Down Beast. So a couple of our match point teams will get that info, but they have to move far. Blackhand, you'd have to say, have the biggest advantage with this circle and where they're currently positioned, but it's about whether they can get enough loot. But they looked pretty good in the early stages.
What a tournament it's been for Blackhand, right? An incredible performance from them. There's KCP, though. No shields left to play with for them. Shield battery is going to have to be popped, but they do manage to get inside of the building, and they should be able to reset. So Pioneers kind of just cut down for a few seconds there. Dreamfire, the team, was holding them out.
Pioneers just need to make sure they ease their way onto match point, but then they try and play spoiler to the rest of the lobby. Dreamfire, they've reached match point now. They still have that chance to win, but because they're taking this 50-50 over towards mill, or at least leaving it so they get some sort of loot, it's very weak armors for them and probably not much to work with in terms of utility as well. But they're just gonna have to hope that maybe they can pick up a third party and gather some loot from someone else.
It's interesting that we saw a Prowler be the end of one team's game yesterday, causing that death, but this time around it might actually be helping the loot pool of Dreamfire. But look at Pioneers, they are stepping up on this. I think they want this fight.
Well, they would have seen the armors. They know that Dreamfire are weak, and they know that Pioneers, they only need 2 more KP. So just this one victory, this one fight could send them onto match point here. And not only that, it denies one of the match point teams from being able to win it here.
Dreamfire only one thing in their minds right now: survive, evade, try and get away from Pioneers, who are chasing them down so violently at the moment. A little bit of leftover loot, certainly going to be helpful for them. You mentioned how their loot pool is looking pretty weak comparatively to someone who has a POI to call their own. For now, they look like they're safe, though. They have escaped. The Pioneers follow.
I mean, it's not just armors, it's ammo they're struggling on. They're going to have such little to work with. Maybe one fight, potentially. As Ascend phase, they're over towards Stormcatcher. Are we going to see the circle start to pull this way, or will it continue to pull northeast up to Thunderwatch? That's going to be one of the biggest changes here for some of these squads. Thunderwatch, I imagine, is where we'll probably end up, or at least in between the two in the little choke point.
Pulverix set up for the long game here. Elsewhere, we take a little look south of what we've just seen. And it's going to be Blackhand who are making their way up that hill now, but look at the armors, not looking too healthy at the moment. And Blackhand has certainly prioritized a rotate off of taking their time to loot up for some fighting a little bit later on.
This is the area where we have seen finishes, though, that Blackhand are holding dead center between Stormcatcher and Thunderwatch, with a little bit of a northern tip for them to work with, and certainly have the hill to their advantage. Is now the Pioneers, they're still chasing, they still want these kills.
And it's Dreamfire again, who are probably just thinking, Pioneers, can you just give us a second
just
here?
leave us alone,
Leave us alone. Pioneer's like, nah, we're coming after you. But for now, it seems like both teams, once again, are resetting. However, resetting not an option here for NRG. Sweet is left on his own. It's a 1v1. Sangyu does have the Peacekeeper and he has the grab lift just to deny and maybe buy enough time here to get this bat off. If he can pop this, then all of a sudden the fight turns on its head. That's exactly what it's done, and NRG will be eliminated.
So NRG were not on match point. They could have been one of those teams to potentially change things and get a victory, but Optic Gaming now hearing all this commotion, maybe might get an easier rotation as they move through.
Reset has come in here at the command center, but how long is that going to last? Big change, of course, in the crafting rotation. Those digi-threads are now available to everyone where you see that crafter. So the Bangalore smoke's not going to be quite as impactful as they were even in the first few games of the day. Oxygen Esports, though, they're in a scrap at the moment. They will be eliminated, and LG, one of our match point teams, will win that fight. And Yanya, who was unbelievable, a monster in that previous game we just saw, well, he's going to do something similar here to keep his team alive.
We saw MDY White eliminated as well, as LG Chivas just trying to desperately search for any sort of space to stay alive, but it's Element 6 being the aggressors here, trying to shut down LG and eliminate one of those match point teams.
Optic still in this fight, though. Optic trying to force their way through command center. They have taken a fair bit of damage in this fight, which is, the longer it goes, the more you expect more teams to think about having a push on this. Locked is taking flesh damage, but should be able to just about get around this corner, but no! Here come KCP! They are a nightmare for the lobby at the moment. There's one KP, one more, and Pioneers will be on match point.
The Pioneers are on a warpath, and they want this KP. They want to get to match point as early as possible to give them that idea of we can be the team to disrupt things. We can be that squad to win here and send us to match number 9.
Zane reloads. Wall bounces enough to keep this player alive for just a few seconds, but Zane has only got one thing in mind. KP, one more of them, and KCP will be on match point!
7 becomes 8, but of course Pioneers cannot win it in this match. So they have to try and deny all of these other teams that already find themselves on them, as Optic Gaming have lost 2 now. Dreamfire, they're under pressure as well. 2 of our match point teams with their backs against the wall.
Ironblood Gaming pushing at the moment. Peter Agri will go down as well. Dreamfire down to just 1. It's all up to Roy. He cannot do it. LG Chivas eliminated as well as Dreamfire. 2 more match point teams fall almost within seconds of each other.
And the chances of another match gets that little bit more percentage-wise, but there's still some big heavy hitters left in the lobby. Dojo, Blackhand, TSM, FaZe could still do it here in match 8. Now Element 6, a team who has certainly caused a ruckus, especially yesterday in that elimination bracket. Maybe they could be the ones to play spoiler. But from their position, they've got a long way to go up to this northern side. They're down towards Launchpad right now. But they're really ruining this rotation from Enter Force 36, who are just calmly trying to make their way up through north.
Back to the Calm, which is a little bit more north on the map at the moment. E6 and Enter Force 36 have gone their separate ways for now. Blackhand kind of relying on Player K here to hit some big shots with that charge rifle. The good news for them, even though they have white armors, they've found somewhere safe to play. And if they can hit 1 or 2 shots with a charge rifle, that Evo shield will be charged up extremely quickly. But we all know at this point, with the reworking of the charge rifle, it's certainly not as easy as it used to be.
Now remember, only a few teams on this northern side had ring consoles to work with as well. Blackhand had ideally priority here. They were able to move into zone first. TSM, however, didn't have ring console from the wall. So they're at the moment just playing a guessing game, kind of watching where other teams arrived from. Could they shadow them? Could they mirror them a little bit? And they're very close to SAF on the northern side of this zone. But it's Pulverex, Moist, Blackhand, and Ascend who are all around this Thunderwatch building.
FaZe, one of our match point teams, they are a little bit further south at Stormcatcher. Nobody really close to them at the moment, but one team who is moving up from the south that they might get a peek at in just a few moments' time is going to be Enter Force 36. This is their POV. If they're not careful here, you already saw that Snipe Down has those scopes tracked. And if they peek, He will teach.
It's going to be a tough journey for FaZe, though, once that circle does close and they have to find themselves going north, but they don't know that at the moment. They wouldn't have had that information, so they're just holding Stormcatcher. They would have seen probably the amount of teams that were able to rotate over towards Thunderwatch, as FaZe now seeing Enter Force 36 arriving. Certainly could be extra shields, though, which could really help them with their journey north when they do have to make it.
Only 7 damage needed here for Snipe Down. It's one of those frustrating situations. It's just like, give me one body to hit. And it just gives you a little bit more confidence. The Dojo, what a tournament it has been. The winners of the last chance qualifier, by the way, are on match point. And this would be the ultimate Cinderella story. If the Dojo can win the ALGS championships, you really couldn't write much better a story.
And it really shows that, you know, anyone could do it. It is very much the zero to hero, LCQ to championship story for them. And at the moment, they're in second place. I'm sure they wouldn't mind it finishing, even if they didn't get that win, because they'd still be up there with the big boys and prize money. But it's TSM who are very close around that corner. And I think Hal has certainly caught wind of something.
The Spidey sense is certainly tingling here, not just because they're in the Spider Cave, but because they know that there's a team around the corner, and the Dojo don't need to be asked twice. They will move down and try and force their way into this zone, and the Dojo have to make this play. You can see in the top left, they won't be safe in around a minute's time, so they're trying to take this fight a little bit early, trying to force TSM back and create some space for them to have to play.
And we've seen this fight a few times this tournament, Dojo versus TSM, and Dojo have got the better of them a few times. Now, SAF are above all of this commotion and could join it if they wanted to. Smokes just to give extra protection for Timmy and the rest of the boys. Right now, they're just trying to hold on because they're looking. They have been able to fight their way in.
One thing that's interesting is I think teams are a little bit less confident trying to fire through the bank smokes, knowing that the Digi is now in that crafting rotation. You can't guarantee if you have a Digi, you're probably going to be in a good position. Oh my. Look at start a fight.
Oh my.
Do you pull the trigger? Do you wait for the knocks? The pressure. You can feel it in the room. Enter Force 36 eliminated in the meantime, but back to the silence as we wait to see what happens.
Couldn't tell if I was in the ALGS arena or a football stadium as everyone's selling shoo by Iron Blood Gaming now. Trying to take this fight, and at the moment, doing well damage-wise.
This is FaZe they're going up against as well, so we could have another match point team falling. What a crazy start to this lobby it has been. And it looks like they're going to be spied out here, FaZe. This could be the end of FaZe. If the flesh damage starts to pick up, and it is, FaZe are eliminated as well. That's yet another match point team falling.
That means we only have 3 left. They've been going out one by one, and SAF, they really can change this fight as Enemy has been the first to fall from the Dojo.
I mean, this is a massive fight. This is a massive fight for the context of not just what you see in front of you, but the tournament as a whole. And SAF might play spoiler. Reps will go down. Verhol's still got shields to play with, but where are SAF on all of this? Are they going to drop? Are they going to influence this fight? The zone is closing. Are they going to make a play off the back of this?
SAF are just letting this go. They're saying, yeah, we helped one team win, I guess, as TSM. Back on their feet, back as a 3, and SAF, they want to hold this position. They don't want to give it up.
The reason I say this is because the winner of this northern fight will have probably the best place in the zone. So for TSM fans and TSM themselves, they're going to be thanking their lucky stars that they weren't dropped on there by SAF. Elsewhere, though, realize, playing on the edge of zone, it's going to be Pioneers and Iron Blood Gaming who are holding them out, but Noct is still alive, but the longer he stays in zone, I mean, the chances are just disappearing in front of his eyes.
So it's Optic Gaming, Blackhand, and TSM, our last 3 teams that are left on match point that are still alive, but Optic down to 1, so you'd imagine it would have to be TSM or Blackhand. Now, Blackhand, the most consistent team throughout this week, and they came in with the most points into match point as 10. What they did struggle with, though, in the winners bracket was getting those wins on the board. They didn't get any throughout the winners finals. But this could be the biggest win of their career if they are able to get into that final circle and solidify everything here and now.
Element 6 and Alliance having a little peek at each other. Optic Gaming out! No win here for Optic Gaming. Another match point team will fall as we jump back over to the north side of our zone. Alliance on your screen. It's been a tough day for them so far, but a win here and you never know.
Well, Alliance pushing up onto E6. If they can get a victory, they can keep this tournament going. It would be big points as well.
The big thing here is, will TSM try and push up on this? Will they leave that cave? Or will the threat of Starfight Esports be too much for them to commit to this fight and cross that open ground? At the moment, it's Alliance who seem to have the upper hand in this fight, especially with effect-hitting sprays like this. But there's the help up from high. It's Starfight who influenced that fight and take him down.
And you said, will TSM join? No, but Black Hand do. Pioneers eliminated in the meantime. Black Hand want this fight. They want this eastern side. They want to be able to dominate and hold as much space as possible.
Pioneers eliminated. Black Hand want to take this spot away. Easy Flash has got to be so careful. Player Case trying to pop an ult excel. But the zone is starting to be a problem for them. They've been forced forward through that cat wall, into the fire, but they do get one. Yuki will fall. Alliance eliminated.
And Black Hand hold, but now are we going to see Ascend actually be able to do any damage from a distance here? TSM also have eyes. There's a few teams with height who have vision on Black Hand, but it looks like Black Hand just stay on their feet as TSM still on the northern side are still threatened by SAF above them, may I add. But do they know they're there? Yes, they definitely know they're there, because you can see how, looking up, he can see the bullets coming from SAF now.
SAF do have the Valkyrie. The composition could be influencing the decision that's going to be made here by Starfight Esports. They are in such an elevated position here that if they try and hit this Valkyrie, they will be safe to do so. They can approach this zone late and really get a lay of the land. That might open the door for TSM to move in.
Well, bear in mind, for TSM to win here, it would be 3 back-to-back victories, something that's unheard of this year in ALGS on LAN. But they have to first worry about SAF. Now, Pulverix, E6, they hold a good position in the moment where they have coverage, but there's a lot of teams on that southern side that are going to be forcing them out of that position, which could put Black Hand into one of the prime spots because they're away from all of this commotion, from all of this damage. If Black Hand can find coverage, if they can find protection, they could find themselves in the final fight.
We are into our top 9 squads. TSM, who almost had to go on an elimination bracket run. They left it to the last game to get that win to send them to the grand finals. Moist Esports will be eliminated in the meantime. Elsewhere, you can see the Black Hand are taking a fight. Black Hand are taking a fight, and who's it against? It's TSM who are moving in, and Hal got that first knock.
Gets the first knock, wants to press up, and they will get aggressive here because if they win this fight, they own the northern side. All the other squads are on the south. TSM win the fight, and now they're in prime position here.
But is anyone going to push on this? Can they get the reset? It looks like TSM will be able to. And all of a sudden, after back-to-back wins, TSM are in prime spot. Carnage elsewhere.
TSM once did it from the heavens, but now they can do it from the depths. They were so far behind going into match number 5, but then back-to-back victories finds them on match point here at match 8. And they have the chance to make it 3 in a row, but they have to play this one perfectly. They can't afford to slip up here, but they have loot, they've got boxes, they've got shield swaps, they've got everything they could possibly want here to win this final circle.
The cards are in the hands of TSM. The crowd know it. TSM fans at home and around the world know it as well. You do not get a better chance than this.
One of these teams on the southern side has to come out healthy, has to come out as a full 3 if TSM are going to be contested here. Otherwise, this one might just be given to them. But it was all that fight on the northern side, beating Black Hand. May have just done it, but they still have to get over this final hurdle here. And I tell you what, it could be SAF. SAF on this lower side, they're not going to take as much damage because these guys in the building are going to fight one another. And it was SAF who originally threatened TSM.
TSM try and take a little bit more space. The digi threat here for Hal means the Bangalore smokes are not going to be an exit option for some of these teams inside of the building. And I tell you what, TSM are not going to wait for the game to come to them. TSM are going to go and win the game themselves. Pulverix down. Ascend down. 2 more teams for TSM to deal with to call themselves champions.
And I love this, push the narrative, give yourself the best opportunity. Iron Blood Gaming, the next team to potentially go down here. This is going to be SAF versus TSM in the final fight.
3v3, a chance for Legacy to become a dynasty for TSM. The zone cut in half. Pressure on Verhulst as the catalyst to make a play. Starfight could play pie poopers here, and TSM are going to have to wait.
These Watson fences could be massive.
Apex Folklore once again repeating itself as how, once again from the heavens, gets the opening knock. The CEO with a hostile takeover. TSM are your champions.
From legacy to a dynasty, it is now complete for TSM. Online championships, playoff championships, and now a world championship for TSM. 3 victories in a row to do it. When their backs were truly against the wall, it was from the wall where they were able to get things done. And the best team in the world, there is no doubt who they are.
Their name is TSM, and they are inevitable when it comes to the ALGS. For Imperial Howl, for Verhulst, and for the man that holds it all together, Reps. It was the one piece that was missing, Dan. The one trophy that they couldn't call their own. But now they could call themselves the ALGS champions.
And not only did they manage to get that victory, but they got it whilst taking down other match point teams on their way. The Dojo destroyed. Blackhand, the next one's in their path. And it was SAF that were above them originally. We thought maybe could be that difference maker, but TSM held strong. And even though at one point, TSM were 40, 50 points behind their competitors, they still managed to hold on. They still believe that they could get it done. And they will find themselves as the world champions.
Let's take a look back at how TSM win a championship. This is your final circle. And one thing that I love about how TSM played this, Dan, is they decided we are going to take control.
Yeah, they could have stayed on the northern side. They could have watched all those teams damage each other and then probably clean things up from a distance. But if you force the narrative in your favor, if you just add that extra little bit of pressure, it means all the teams struggle to really come out with any sort of health. But SAF did. In fairness, SAF a full 3, then they set up those Watson fences, and it just comes down to, as we've always said, hitting your shots.
Whoever's in charge of adding something onto Storm Point, you need to make this kind of zone the TSM zone. They need to have a statue, because this is where they win championships. But it's this play again from Hal. Goes up once again into the thinner air, comes back down, and then, as you say, you put it perfectly, Dan. You've just got to hit your shots.
And also playing the objective scenery as best as you can and what's available to give you that extra little bit of cover. For those gentlemen on your screen, I don't think they can quite believe it themselves. It's unheard of. I mean, back-to-back-to-back wins on LAN, you don't see it very often. Now, remember, right at the start, Optic Gaming had won 2 matches. They had their chance on match point, but did not take it. And it was TSM yet again that find themselves on match point getting the job done.
An unbelievable week. I think everybody who's here in the building can agree with that sentiment. Everybody who's watching around the world as well, I'm sure, can agree with that sentiment. Arguably the greatest ever Apex Legends tournament that we've been a part of, that everybody has been a part of. And I've got to say, for everyone who's out in the crowd right now, you have been one of the biggest parts of this. It has been an incredible atmosphere, and certainly one that Dan and I will never forget. But the story ends the same. It's like we said, it's legacy turning into a dynasty. It's TSM who are your champs.
And once more, it is a situation where you said, arguably, this is the biggest and best tournament, but there is no argument who is the best team in Apex Legends. And I think that was what TSM set out at this tournament to prove, that they are the best ever to do it. Two players who have been there right since the very beginning, back in Krakow, Poland, still competing together, Reps and Hal, and now alongside Verholst, have defined what it means to be the best team in the world.
Absolutely inevitable. It's just how it felt. As soon as the momentum started picking up for TSM, they win one game, then we go to the wall. And sometimes when a zone comes to your POI, you're like, we need to win this, we should win this, but being in their position, knowing there's multiple teams already on match point, it became a must-win game for TSM. They do it. And then the way that they navigated that traffic in that final game, Dan, I mean, so many teams would have been so worried about taking that fight against the Dojo. That's either what wins them the game, or maybe Dojo come out of it as the champion, but it is going to be TSM who finally get the job done. Congratulations to TSM. It's time for us to step away and put the spotlight on your champions.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage your Apex Legends Global Series Year 3 champions, TSM!